everyone. Cube numbers are going to become a set that you eventually use so often that it's going to make your life a whole lot easier if you memorize some of the common ones. In this lesson, we'll learn what cube numbers are, why they're called cube numbers, and how to work them out. Let's go and see what they're all about. If we look at the diagrams in front of us, you'll see that there's some big cubes made up of smaller cubes. Now, the way we work out how many small cubes make up the big cube is by multiplying the amount of small cubes going across by the amount going to the back by the amount going up. So if we look at these ones, let's look at this first one. We can see there's one cube going across, one to the back, and one up. So we would write that as 1 times 1 times 1, which gives us a total of 1 cube. And you can see the diagram is just showing 1 cube. So that's correct. If we look at this next one, there are 2 small cubes going to the side, 2 going to the back, and 2 going up. So we would write that as 2 times 2 times 2. Now, if we work that out, 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8. So in total, we should have 8 small cubes. And you can see our diagram shows that there are 8 smaller cubes making up this cube. And then the last one, we've got 3 small cubes going to the side, to the back, and up. So we would write that as 3 times 3 times 3. And we would work it out as 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27. So we should have 27 smaller cubes making up this big cube. Now these numbers, 1, 8, and 27, they are known as cubed numbers because if we draw them, they form cubes, like we can see in these diagrams. Now it's important to know that there's another way of writing 1 times 1 times 1. In other words, another way of writing, take a number and multiply it by itself and multiply it by itself again. We can rather write 1 to the power of 3, and that's a little 3 to the side of the 1. For this one, instead of 2 times 2 times 2, we can write it as 2 to the power of 3. And this last one, 3 to the power of 3. Now be careful. The power of 3 means take this number, multiply it by itself, and then by itself again. It does not mean 3 times 3. Another way of saying the power of 3 is cubed. So for this one, instead of saying 3 to the power of 3, we could say 3 cubed. For this one here, instead of saying 2 to the power of 3, we could say 2 cubed. And this one, instead of 1 to the power of 3, we could say 1 cubed. And you can see that word cubed is a really appropriate word because it forms cubed numbers, which can be drawn into cubes. Okay, so remember, when you cube a number, it means multiply the number by itself and by itself again. And the answer is always a cubed number. Let's look at a few more examples. If we look at these two in front of us, this first one we would read as 4 to the power of 3 or 6 to the power of 3. But the more common way of reading these would be 4 cubed and 6 cubed. So that's what we're going to say here. If we want to work out 4 cubed, this first one, in our mind, we're thinking to ourselves, 4 cubed means 4 times 4 times 4. Remember, it means take 4, multiply it by itself and by itself again. So if we work that out, 4 times 4 is 16, and that times 4 is 64. So our answer to 4 cubed is 64. If we look at 6 cubed, remember this does not mean 6 times 3. This means take 6, multiply it by itself and by itself again. So 6 times 6 is 36, times it by 6 again is 216. So 6 cubed is equal to 216. These over here, the answers are cubed numbers. And that just means that if we draw them, we'll be able to create a cube from that drawing. Okay, now that you know how to work out these cubed sums, it's time for you to try some yourself. There's 5 sums over here for you to try. Remember, this I think column is what you'll eventually land up doing in your head. you're busy trying to embed this process in your brain. You're trying to get your brain to understand what cubing means. So it's a really good idea, while the skill is still new, to write this I think column out. Okay, what you're going to do, you're going to pause this video, you're going to fill in your answers, and then you're going to come back to the video to see if you got your answers correct. Let's check your answers. Although cubing isn't a complicated skill, it definitely requires lots of practice, because as I said in the beginning, the best strategy for cube numbers is to memorize them. The practice exercises in your booklet include all the cube numbers that you should eventually be able to recite. Once you're comfortable with square and cube numbers, move on to the lesson on square and cube roots, because they're closely linked. I'll see you there. This lesson comes from the Tables Training That Packs a Punch series. The full series with practice exercises and bonuses is available from aligerous.online. Click the link in the description below.